Hello, YouTubey. You get to see my beautiful mug again. JK. I know, I'm hideous like Kramer. Anyways, pop culture video. Remember last time I said, oh, I won't have one of these for another few weeks or whatever, or more, because I'm not up to much stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, dominoes. So, very video game heavy again this time, but we're going to start it off, which I think is what we did last time, with a book. The third and final book in the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron book, or series, called Victory's Price. In this book, the final journey of this story arc, Alphabet Squadron is kind of decimated in a way. Kairos has gone through her changes. She's all weird now. Chas is part of a cult, and she's kind of even weirder and more rage-filled than ever. Will Lark, the leader of the squadron now that he's been put in command, is now kind of more like he wants to talk to the opposing force Shadow Wing pilots and be peaceful and not fight anymore. Nath Tencent is kind of that wild card, as he's always been. And, of course, their former leader, Yurika Quell, or however you say her name, has gone back to Shadow Wing. Now, the New Republic forces think she's defected back to the Imperials, but at the same time, she's gone back there with her own agenda to work against Shadow Wing from the inside and hopefully put an end to the war and their tyranny. But at the same time, she has feelings for pilots both in the New Republic and Alphabet Squadron and her former comrades in Shadow Wing. So she's kind of torn, but she does want to stop the war and end Shadow Wing's tyranny and whatnot. So it starts off, and Shadow Wing is terrorizing a certain star system, basically continuing Operation Cinder and just using each planet in the system's own natural resources against it in order to obliterate the planet and destroy it and murder the population. Alphabet Squadron, thanks to intel they've been getting sent back by Yurika Quell, but they don't know what's coming from her, has been on their tail the whole time and rushes to stop each engagement, but each fight has its own little unique twists and turns and whatnot. And in the end, Yurika ends up defecting back from Shadow Wing. She goes on this mission to decode this robot that basically comes up with the Emperor's face on it and kind of dictates how things go in Shadow Wing to a certain extent. Nobody knows where this mysterious droid came from, but it does the late Emperor's bidding in a way and kind of influences their actions. And so I forget her former commander. He comes back to Shadow Wing. Yurika's kind of former mentor who led Shadow Wing. He comes back and kills this thing in a rage because he's never quite trusted it. And so Yurika's side mission is to take this droid to a certain planet where information can be extracted from it, and they can find out just what this thing's all about and get any information they can from it. And she does get the information, and basically this thing contains a database of every Imperial loyalist, whether fucking right at the top and, hail the Empire, down to just the common person who has done one little thing in the name of the Empire, even if it's just a little thing that's kind of unwitting, right? And so this database, if the New Republic gets their hands on it, will know every Empire sympathizer and can deal with them and track them down in any way they see fit. And Shadow Wing and the Empire, who are losing the war, Soren Keyes, that's his name, the guy that leads Shadow Wing, he's fearful of what happens if the New Republic gets this information, what they'll do to his loyal soldiers. So Yurika gets caught on this planet by Chas and Kairos and is brought back to Alphabet Squadron. Hera Syndulla, the general of their fleet, kind of realizes that Yurika, everybody's going to brand her a traitor and stuff, but Hera gets it, right? She knows there's more to the story. And so in the end, everything culminates in a battle above Jakku, which, we see all that wreckage of the Star Destroyers and whatnot over Jakku. A battle between the New Republic and the Empire over Jakku, one of the final battles. And as a side mission, Soren Keyes has left Shadow Wing and is headed to Coruscant, where he plans on destroying all of the databanks where this information that the Emperor's droid, where it's kept, so that the New Republic cannot get their hands on it. But in doing so, he's going to bring by so much collateral damage on Coruscant, a hugely populated world, which just layer stacked upon layer of people. And Yurika Quell can't let this happen. The New Republic can't let it happen. So Yurika and Kairos go to Coruscant to try and stop him from doing that, while the rest of the fleet and New Republic forces fight this battle over Jakku. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I've already told you enough already as it is. So that's that. Next up, we get into the first of the 4 games I recently played, Pokemon Shield for Nintendo Switch. Look at my last video. I think it was my last video, maybe the one before it. I don't remember which one exactly, but I played through Pokemon Sword and basically explained what it was all about. Pokemon Shield is exactly the same. I was never sure what the difference between the two Pokemon games that are always released side by side, what the differences are. There's not a whole lot. In this one, 2 of the gym leaders were different characters. There were, of course, different Pokemon unique to this game compared to the last game. So some subtle differences, but for the most part, the story, the action, the region, everything else is exactly the same. So if you want to learn about this game, watch one of my last videos when I did Pokemon Sword. Next up, this is a funny one. I kind of bought it for my wife, but we don't really hang out that much anymore, so I played it on my own, and it is Grease for the Nintendo Wii. Very short game. I played through the whole thing in about an hour, hour and a half. It's basically a collection of mini games. So you can play with up to 4 people, just pick a game sort of thing. But you can also play through on story mode. And like I said, it's very short, hour, hour and a half, you play through it. So it basically just follows the events of the movie Grease, and you play kind of a mini game in each kind of scene or situation or whatever. So most of the mini games are kind of like a Guitar Hero thing. You see button combinations flashing across the screen, and as they hit the slider at the end of it, you've got to do the button sequence and get the highest score that you can, sort of thing. So it's like a musical movie. If you've ever watched Grease, you know it's a musical, and so you're basically, they're singing a song and an action sequence is unfolding while they're doing that, and you're hitting the notes in the rhythm. There are some unique ones too. There's one where you're driving Grease Lightning near the end of the movie, and you tilt it and steer it, and you can ram your opponent, and that sort of thing. And then when they sing the Grease Lightning song near the start of the movie, you're actually, instead of doing the note thing, you're hammering out dents in the fenders, then you're spray painting it, and you're also attaching lug nuts to tighten the tires, that sort of thing. So there's a few variations on the mini games, but most of them are that rhythm, hit the note kind of style. So, but I felt like it was, for a simple little game like that, I really like the character animations. They had this really cartoon quality for all the characters, and they looked really neat. And it was more of an enjoyable game than I thought it would be. Even though it was super short and kind of goofy, I really liked how they executed it, and the different types of games they had, even though there weren't that many. I really enjoyed it, so I was happily surprised. Don't overpay for it, though. Like, I'm talking $5 bargain bin sort of thing, right? You'll spend your money like, oh, I paid $40 for this thing and I was done in an hour, right? It's like, no thank you, sir. Next up, for the PS3, NHL 13. And I don't know if you can hear that echo, but my drum set, my bass drum, I think, is making things echo in here when I'm talking. So if you can hear that, that's what it is. But NHL 13 PS3, we just played through a season in this, won the cup with the Leafs. They said this is the 22nd game release in the NHL hockey series. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Like, I'm sure it is, because why wouldn't it be? But I have a feeling there's more than that. I'm going to count. I have every single... Of any game series I have, you know I always have all of the NHL series, because when it first came out, NHL Hockey on Sega Genesis, it was a lifestyle choice for me and all my friends, and probably most kids around Canada who could afford a Sega Genesis, right? So, but I'm going to count all my games. I'm going to go through them year by year and count them, and just I'll confirm in a future video whether that's true or not. But NHL 13, what more can you say? Like, the NHL series has evolved from one year to the next. There's usually not that big of changes. It's more of a sweeping change as you see chunks of years go by, right? But NHL 13 was not my favorite. They introduced some new features like skating. You could gain momentum, and when you get ahead of steam, like turning was like you're trying to turn the Titanic when you see the iceberg, right? It's like, whoa, come around now, right? Like, you can't just do a quick stop and get going back the other way. Like, you can't really. So the momentum thing was kind of cool, but at the same time, kind of a pain in the ass. I really didn't like that. I found the passing, like you'd be like, I got this stick perfectly aimed at the guy I want to pass the puck to, and then it goes off in some other fucking direction, and not even to one of your players, just to an empty area of the ice, and you're like, what the hell is that, right? It had some glitchy things like that, and not glitches, but just things didn't quite work the way they should have, right? The way they've worked in previous games and subsequent games since, right? So it definitely isn't without its share of problems. It's not enough to bring the game down a whole lot, but it definitely makes it, one of the ones that you're going to pick other versions of it before you play this one, right? Sort of thing. So in terms of the modes, there's the Hockey Ultimate Team where you can unlock character packs and add like Wayne Gretzky legend to your team, that sort of thing, new sticks and shit like that. Online modes, the EA Sports League, be a GM mode, you can be a GM for a human controlled team. And then of course the tournament season, all that kind of thing. The standard modes, along with some, what I'm assuming were new modes for this release, but consistent EA Sports hockey experience. If you've played one, you know what I'm talking about. It's just slight changes from one to the next, and you can kind of, deduct the rest out of what I'm saying, sort of thing. So, last up, I got this one for Christmas from my mother-in-law. It was on my list, and it is called Power Rangers Battle for the Grid for the PS4. This, I love the Power Rangers. As you know, I've been working my way through all the various series. I'm kind of stalled right now because I'm watching other stuff. This game is a straight up street fighting type of game, and the plot behind it is that Drakon, an evil version of Tommy Oliver, who's the Green Ranger in one of the series, I don't remember which one, has become corrupted in the future, and he time travels back to start taking out other Rangers from all these other different Ranger forces and stealing their morphers, and he kills the original Tommy Oliver and gains his energy to charge some sort of thing. So basically he's trying to rewrite reality and rework the universe to his evil machinations, and what he's doing is he's stealing one morpher from each Power Rangers team to basically accomplish this task. So there are other Rangers from other series that show up and travel through time to combat Drakon. There is the original Kimberly Hart, my favorite. The original Red Ranger from the first series, what was his name? Jason, I think. Jen from Time Force, she's one of the main players in it. And then a bunch of other ones that I don't know because I haven't got into those further seasons yet, so I haven't been introduced to them yet. Trini's in it, I think. And then you get some of the other characters too, like Goldar and Rita. You don't get to play with her in the story mode, but Rita's in there, of course. So there's all sorts of characters from scattered across the Power Rangers universe that factor into these fights. Sometimes as the chapters during the acts evolve over the course of the story, most of the times you're controlling the good guys, the good Rangers, but sometimes it'll flip and you'll be controlling, Goldar or whoever and get to fight on the bad guy's side. It gives you a bit of variety that way. So, but overall there is 3 acts to the story and I think 16 chapters. And each chapter isn't necessarily one set of fights. It can be, up to 3 or 4 set of fights as the story evolves. So it's got a decent length to it. And then the other modes, it's got an online mode. You can fight other people, arcade mode. There's a few extra characters you can unlock. I don't know how to do it. I haven't done it during my play, so I don't know. And this version actually came with 2 characters that were added to the game. Actually, Ryu and Chun-Li from the Street Fighter series dressed up in Power Rangers type garb. So I played with them a little bit too. So, but overall, a fun game. I thought the graphics and the gameplay were really well done. I thought the story was kind of cool. The artwork on the story was cool. But any street fighting game you play, at least in my opinion, even if it's one of the best like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, its shelf life is only so much. Once you play through the story mode, if it even has one, you're like, okay, I'm done with it, right? Because otherwise you're just going and fighting one-off fights and whatever, and it's just repetition. It's, unless you really love the genre of street fighting games, you really don't have much more reason to keep playing it, right, once you've played through the story. So they do have a really short shelf life, but I still find them a lot of fun when you are going through them on that initial playthrough. So to me, it's always like, yeah, I'd love to get all the different street fighting games, but I won't pay a lot for them. I'll wait until they're down in price, or if somebody it's on my list and somebody buys it for me like this time, I will not spend a lot of money on these types of games just because of their short length and short shelf life. So that is the 5 things this time. I'm gonna say it's gonna be at least a few weeks until my next video of this nature, but I proved myself wrong this time. Maybe I will next time. Till then.